This is what the F-22 Raptor's replacement will be like. The Air Force is preparing to unveil a new 30-year fighter force design that includes at least 2 all-new fighters, a much greater use of autonomous and unmanned aircraft, a new way of providing close air support, and a narrowing timeline for retiring aircraft such as the A-10 Thunderbolt, F-15E Strike Eagle, and F-22 Raptor, said Lieutenant General Samuel Clinton Highnote, Deputy Chief of Staff for Strategy, Integration, and Requirements. Highnote said the F-22 will begin to phase out in about 2030. The exact timeline will be situation dependent, and the next generation air dominance fighter will be needed soon to defeat a Chinese stealth aircraft and missile threat that is closer than we think. By about the 2030 timeframe, you're talking about a 40-year-old platform in the F-22, and it's not just going to be the right tool for the job, especially when we're talking about defending our friends like Taiwan, Japan, and the Philippines against a Chinese threat that grows and grows, Highnote told Defense News in an exclusive May 13th interview. We're treating the F-22 as the bridge to the NGAD capability, he said. Today's Air Force is made up of 7 fighter types: the F-22 Raptor, the F-15CD Eagle, the F-15E Strike Eagle, F-15EX Super Eagle, F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, F-16 Fighting Falcon, and A-10 Thunderbolt. It's a diverse menagerie of aircraft, from high-end air superiority fighters to close air support planes, some of which overlap in purpose. Now, Air Force Chief of Staff General Charles Quentin Brown wants to shrink the number of fighter fleets from 7 to just 4, according to Defense News. Under the plan, the F-15CD, F-15E, A-10, and F-22 would take one-way flights to the boneyard. The F-15EX, F-35, and F-16 would all fly on, joined by a new air superiority fighter, Next Generation Air Dominance. Talk of the F-22's future was conspicuously absent in Brown's comments, even though the Raptor currently ranks as the Air Force's second newest fighter and its premier air superiority fighter. Highnote said the F-22's retirement would be event-driven and interwoven with next-generation air dominance's development, occurring closer to the 2030s than the upcoming fiscal year 22 budget cycle. We don't have to make that decision this year, he said. What we're going to want to see is when do we press from the NGAD fighter being a developmental program to being a production program. Some people call that Milestone C. Few details have been released about the highly classified Next Generation Air Dominance program, but service officials conceive it as a family of systems, not simply a traditional fighter jet flown by human pilot. Last September, former Air Force Acquisition Executive Will Roper announced that a full-scale NGAD demonstrator had made its inaugural flight. At the moment, we're thinking that it's manned, unmanned, and optionally manned, Highnote said. Frankly, I think we're going to explore all of those to go forward to see exactly what the best use of this is. It's unclear how close NGAD is to being fielded, but Highnote said it is proceeding ahead of expectations. Some of our best airmen and joint partners are very impressed with the progress that the primes have made and all of the other subcontractors have made, he said. Probably the biggest part of it is going to be this idea of digital design and then integration of the systems on the government reference architecture. If we can do those things well, we're going to field it earlier, he said. If not, the Air Force will have to retain the F-22 longer. It's a great airplane, Highnote said of the F-22, but as the service moves into the 2030s, the Raptor will find itself outpaced by adversary technologies. In a war game the Air Force held last year, which simulated a Chinese invasion of Taiwan set in the mid-2030s, the service relied on NGAD to penetrate into areas populated by Chinese threats. We couldn't use the F-22 in that way, he said. The F-22's limitations, Highnote said, include a small fleet size that contributes to high operating costs and low mission-capable rates. It has a relatively short range, only 1,850 nautical miles with 2 external fuel tanks, and its weapons magazine is small and lacks depth and range. Even its survivability will eventually be at stake as adversary nations field more capable air defense systems, and its stealth advantage degrades, he said. The F-22's range and magazine depth issues aren't that different from those from the F-35, High Note acknowledged. The F-22 can carry 6 AIM-120 AMRAAM and 2 AIM-9 missiles internally for air-to-air missions, while the F-35 can carry only 4 AMRAAMs inside its payload bay while maintaining a stealth configuration. However, the F-35 is newer, more flexible, and easier to maintain, with a longer service life ahead of it than what the F-22 can offer, and new weapons incoming as part of its Block 4 upgrade program. In addition, the Air Force will operate the F-35 in greater numbers, with only 186 F-22s in the Air Force's inventory, compared to 283 F-35A models as of May 8th, according to military.com. And importantly, the F-35 is easier to modernize than the F-22, although High Note noted that there will be a request in the fiscal 2022 budget to make targeted upgrades to the F-22's sensor capability, as well as to fund new weapons that can be used across the entire fighter inventory. You'll see in our budget submissions that we're pursuing advanced air-to-air missiles, he said. We're going to need that if we're going to upgrade all of our fighters. Yes, you can conceivably put that into the F-22. That won't obviate some of the other challenges. Besides next-generation air dominance, the Air Force plans on retaining the F-35, which Brown said will act as the cornerstone of the fighter inventory, as well as the F-15EX and F-16. The F-15EX was initially purchased to replace F-15CD Eagles that are nearing the end of their service life, but Brown's disclosure also portends the eventual sunset of the F-15E Strike Eagle as well. High Note said that the service is still studying whether it can modify its F-15Es to an EX configuration or whether it'll buy new planes from Boeing. Eventually, the Air Force will also seek a replacement for its F-16 fleet. Brown has previously said the Air Force will consider buying a clean sheet design or new production F-16s instead of purchasing additional F-35s to replace the F-16. I don't need to make that decision today, Brown said on Wednesday. It's probably 6, 7, 8 years away into the future. But what I need to do is start shaping the thought process.